All right. I am here today with the lovely Krista from Summit in a Box. If you guys have not heard of Krista, I'm going to let her introduce herself to you guys in just a second. But summits and bundles and all of these kinds of things are so popular right now. And they're beneficial for you as a contributor, you as a host, if you ever wanted to do them. They're just fantastic. So I'm going to let Krista introduce herself and her amazing courses and just tell us a little bit about summits.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be able to nerd out about this a little bit and answer some really great questions. Like you said, I'm Krista. I run a company called Summit in a Box, and we teach online business owners how to grow their business in really different ways through virtual summits. The reason that I started this business is because I ran my first summit in 2018 and it went so much better than I ever expected. Like, I'm happy to dive into that more, but basically it blew my mind and it really opened my eyes to the power of summits. Before that, I had seen it as a way to like get more visible, maybe get some new subscribers. I didn't realize just how many new subscribers you could get and how much easier it was than trying to like piece together all of these strategies you could possibly find to get a few subscribers here and there to make a significant amount of immediate income through the summit, but also lead people into what's next for you, whether that's a course or a service or whatever it is. I had no idea how natural that transition could be, and like how it would just explode my business, as well as the momentum you build that continues not for months, but like literally for years after. Having thousands more people know who you are is mind-blowingly powerful, and like the results have not stopped paying off even from that first summit. The collaborations I've been able to do because of it, the bigger and bigger names who know who I am because of it that I've been able to collaborate with, like it is powerful. And being able to see that for myself kind of lit me on fire, honestly. I wanted to spread that message to other people. If little old me with a couple hundred subscribers on my email list could see this growth through a summit and help other people do that, that is what I wanted to do. And I have a very detail process oriented mind. And a summit is a very big project that has lots of details and processes. And so it was very natural to me to put together all of the templates I created for my own summit. We literally have hundreds. We have over 1,000 templates actually in our programs, and be able to be like, here, please never host a summit from scratch. We will give it all to you. So that's what I'm all about. That's what I do, making summits easier for people to host, whether you're a big deal or just starting out, and getting people better results as they do it.
I love that. And so, yeah, I am going to dig a little bit here. Tell us a little bit about the amazingness, is what I wrote down, of your first summit. What made it so great to you? What were some of the things that you learned from it? Like, just share whatever you want to share about it.
Yeah. So at the time, I had less than 500 people on my email list, and I had been in business for over 2 years. So it had taken me 2 years to just hustle and try all the things to get those few hundred people. And like my business was doing okay. I was bringing in like $3,000-$4,000 a month. Honestly, like at the time, that's what I needed. So I was okay with that. But I think just like, we're entrepreneurs. We want to we always just have the urge to do a little better. I was like, how do I break past this? I was booking clients like as I needed them. Like literally it would be, okay, I finished this client today. Where's the next one coming from? And then like magically someone would be in my inbox the next day, like, oh, okay, good. So I was like, I want more consistent clients. I was in some Facebook groups where I was like, I want these people, like this little clique of people. I want to like be in that clique. Like I want to know these people. How do I do that? And a summit was just the thing that kind of kept coming to my mind as a potential solution. Honestly, the summits I had been to up to that point were gross and slimy and pitchy, and I didn't want to do it. But it was like in the car one day, I had this realization, like, I don't have to do it that way. I can do it how I want to do it. And that's what I did. So I went in hoping to my goal was literally to make $2,000 or $3,000, like low expectations. Like I didn't think it would work for me because I was not a big deal. I was not well known. I was hoping to grow my list by a couple hundred people maybe. But by the end, people who I never thought I would have a chance to collaborate with had said yes and were speakers. I had tripled my email list. So we went from 500 to 1,500 in the span of a couple weeks that the registration was open, and we made $16,000 in sales. Wow. And for me, someone who was making $3,000 to $4,000 a month and happy with that, bringing in $16K at once, I couldn't even. I
Yeah.
could not, it did not make sense in my mind what just happened. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, this is powerful. On top of that, I went from booking my services like the day I needed someone to being booked out for 6 months after the summit. I did not
Mm.
have to worry about where my next clients were coming from. And then that like kicked off the wave of me being invited to collaborate with other people. They're like, hey, I saw you in your summit. Like, you want to come speak at my summit or do this webinar or collaboration? I'm like, heck yeah, I want to do those things. So it just opened so many doors for me. And every single one since then has done that. And done it better as I've been able to refine my strategies. Our biggest summit to date had 6,500 people and made 121,000 in all access pass sales. That did not include any like launch on the back end. Like the strategy scales to you, whether you're just getting started and you want to make 10K, or you're experienced and want to make a couple 100,000. Like the strategy scales to where you are, and it is so powerful.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Bravo. That's quite a pitch right there for summits. I don't know if anybody else like was like, I could run a summit just listening to that. So I'm going to ask the question that I know that a lot of people have asked, which is, if I don't have a huge audience, should I think about running a summit?
Yeah, so I get that question a lot, and a lot of people are like, well, should I build my audience first before I host a summit? Please don't do that. Because to me, that is backwards. A
Ooh.
summit will bring you the audience. You don't need to bring the audience to the summit. And a lot of people are like, well, no one's going to want to speak if I don't have an audience. First of all, they don't have to know. Like, you don't have to tell them you don't have an audience. But the goal would be to craft an event that is enticing enough that they're like, I would rather speak at this than go pay Facebook thousands of dollars on ads to get my name out to those people.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to your positioning. You need to craft an event that people want to be a part of, because like it's crafted for their audience, for their people, and you're making it easy for them. So I've pitched over 100 speakers at this point. I have had one. They didn't ask for my audience size. They just asked for how many people I had in the previous run of my event. So I've never had anyone be like, well, how big is your audience? Is it worth it
Yeah.
for me to do this? Like, if it's really all about the way you go in with the pitch, the way you present the benefits to them, and the way you craft your event. So your speakers will bring the audience. You don't have to bring the audience.
That's a really cool thing. That's good. That's a huge weight off of a lot of people's shoulders, I think. So the next kind of question is obviously kind of piggybacking off of the, if I don't have an audience yet, should I think about running a summit? If I have never run a summit, can I still get big names to be part of it?
Yeah. So I mean, you can. If it's positioned well and it's the audience that they're trying to get in front of. I think especially now when things like Facebook ads are just kind of like, we don't know if it's going to work, or it's going to work, but it's going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
People are looking for other ways to get in front of their audience. Like, I am saying yes to a lot more opportunities that I used to kind of be like, okay, no, I don't have space for this. Like, yes, I would rather do this. I'd rather spend a half hour, 45 minutes creating a presentation than tens of thousands of dollars on Facebook ads. But the thing I would say about getting big names on is a lot of times the big names are not going to do a thing for you. Their face is pretty on your registration page, but most of the time they don't promote because they have so many other things going on. They're invited to so many things.
Mm-hmm.
They can't make space in their promo calendar for every single thing they're invited to. So a lot of times they'll say yes, even because they have like pre-recorded presentations they can just send you. They don't have to really do a whole lot of work, but they're not going to promote. Every once in a while they might, but usually they don't.
Yeah.
I've always seen a much bigger payoff for like the beginner or mid-range people who are still appreciative of the opportunity and still excited about the opportunity, rather than the people that just get invited to everything and don't care as much or value the opportunity as much anymore.
Yeah. Interesting. I really hadn't thought of that, because I know like we've all seen people in summits or bundles or whatever, and it's like they haven't sent out a single email. Is this really? So basically, don't necessarily like shoot for going after like all the big fish. Go for like the mid-level fish.
Yes. I know of actually a really big name business owner who had all of the other big name business owners in her event, and it did not go well because they just didn't promote. that she pitched
Yeah.
like the James Wedmore's, Amy Porterfield's, stuff like that. And they're just not going to. They might like reshare something on their Instagram stories, maybe, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're not the ones in there anyways, doing their marketing. So, but yeah, even the people who aren't like quite at that level, but they're in all the summits, they're in all the bundles. Just keep in mind, they probably don't have the promo space to be featuring you front and center.
Good to know. It's really good to know. So, next question is, what works better? Charging for a summit or using a free summit plus offering all access passes as an upsell?
I love this question. We just ran our first paid event a couple weeks ago. So all of this is really fresh in my mind. I'm doing a debrief on it for my clients tomorrow. Which one is better is going to depend on your goals and where you are at in business. Based on what I know about your audience, though, I would say that a free summit is going to be better to start with. So the benefit of a free summit over a paid conference is it's going to bring you a lot more people. It's going to convert a lot easier. It's easier to get someone in for a free thing than a paid thing. And it's not necessarily like a lot of people say free summits bring in low quality leads. It's not that they're low quality. It's that they don't have to be as committed to taking action right now as they would if they're going to pay you for a ticket. It can be, you can bring in more people who are just kind of curious. You're like, oh, yeah, I kind of want to learn that. Why not sign up?
Yeah.
It's so much easier. It's also so much easier to get speakers to promote something free because it feels like more of a value add for them to be presenting their audience rather than going in with a pitch. And then the all access pass, when you set it up right, converts very, very well. So to give you like some numbers to put this into perspective, the last summit I ran for Summit in a Box, I usually run my summits for a different business. So the last one we did was in 2020. We had 2,000 people on our email list at the time. So much smaller than it is right now. And we brought in 78K in total sales.
Nice.
And 1,300 attendees. Smaller summit, but still like it converted well. We just ran our first paid event with 10,000 people on our email list. We only brought in 250 attendees. 250 versus 1,300, 5 times more people on our email list. So the audience growth, the visibility is not the goal of a paid event unless you have literally tens of thousands of dollars to spend on ads, which is just not where a lot of people are at. And then the other thing to keep in mind with the paid event is the money doesn't come from ticket sales. It comes from you having a higher ticket paid offer that converts really well to pitch on the back end. So we brought in like 68,000 through the event we just ran. Only 3,300 of that was ticket sales. The rest was our program that we know converts very, very well. With the free summit, you can combine both of those things together and bring in 10, 50, 100K with your all access pass sales and add in the launch of your thing and those two things combined. So I think that switching back and forth between the two, if you have that higher ticket paid offer for a conference, is great because the free summit can bring in people, especially even people that aren't quite ready for what you are offering yet, but it's getting them engaged, getting them in your world. You can nurture them. And then once a year, every 2 years, if you want to run a paid event to re-engage those people, cool. But you have to already have the leads to convert through the conference.
That's wild. Oh my goodness. So good to know. Okay. So my next question is, how many people should I have join my summit as contributors? Like, is there some magic number? And is it possible to have too many people who are contributors?
Yes. Okay. So I wouldn't say there's necessarily a magic number. For the strategies I teach, I like to see at least 15. And the reason I say that is because really the success of your summit depends on a few things, but assuming your messaging is right, it depends on your speakers promoting.
Yeah.
And if you have like 5 people, that's not a lot of people promoting. And keep in mind, not everyone is going to promote. So having a nice group so that it kind of balances out is always a good thing to do. I usually say 15 to 25 is a good range to plan. Honestly, if you're going to have 15, what's another 5? What's another 10? Like all your processes are there at that point. But I kind of encourage people to have at least that 15 number. There is definitely such a thing as too many. And I think especially now that summits are becoming more common, the 5-day events have just really started feeling like a lot. I have started encouraging my students and clients to stick with the 3 or 4-day events and figure out how many presentations do you want per day? How many speakers does that look like? for
Yeah.
you based on the experience you want to create. I've been in a summit before where there were literally over 100 speakers. This was hosted by another summit expert who I clearly don't necessarily recommend, but like none of us got any attention. There was
Yeah.
100 speakers. We didn't stand out. His audience didn't walk away being able to implement anything because it was just information overload. So 15, 20, 25, good range for you to be able to fit in a 3-4 day event. Give each speaker their chance to shine, as well as you still having your own chance to shine, because that's important as well.
That's fantastic. Okay. So is there like a tipping point before you get to somewhere in between 15 and 100? Is there like when you're sending out your pitches, like how do you factor in the concept of like, well, if all of these people say yes, I am up the creek without a paddle with 100 people going to be in this thing?
I love that question. So I like to pitch actually in what I call rounds. So I will send my first round of pitches to the people I kind of base it more on who is a really good fit for this that I think will say yes. So I have some kind of connection with them, but they're like the perfect fit. I'm sending those pitches out first to try to fill some initial spots. And then my next round of pitches will go out to like a wider group of people. And I can use those names of people that said yes in the first round as social proof. And then I kind of see my third round as, okay, based on how many people said no or didn't answer from these first 2 rounds, I have these many spots to fill. That's how I'm doing that. And I'll send a couple extra rounds if I have to. I don't know if I've ever actually had to send more than 3 rounds, because usually you're going to get a good acceptance rate if your event is positioned well. But pitching in a round, other than being like, all right, I want 20 people, I'm going to pitch 40. Like, don't do that. You're going to end up with too many people. Just kind of tier it. And you can always assume that a couple people are going to say no for whatever reason. A lot of times it's going to be that they're too busy, but I would say don't over pitch so it doesn't become an issue.
Yeah. So pitching, I like that idea, pitching in small groups, so that if everybody in group A says yes, then you're not stuck with, 150 people.
Yes.
Okay. So when you run a summit, how do you get big names involved? How do you get really anybody to be a part of it in general? Like, how does the pitching process work?
Yeah. So I recommend, if you have time and like the brain space, be connecting with these people before you start pitching. So even right now, if you're like, a summit sounds cool, I'm not going to dive into it right away. Cool. You don't have to. But when you see someone, you're like, oh, they would be a cool speaker. Follow on Instagram, reply to their stories, just make sure they know you exist, because that is going to make it much easier for them to want to say yes. If you can make someone want to say yes, like, that's the best thing you can do. I still send a lot of cold pitches though. And that's when it comes down to the positioning. Did you craft an event that people can see themselves benefiting from? If you don't know them, they're not going to say yes just to do you a favor. They have to see an opportunity for themselves. So your summit has to be positioned for the audience that they are serving for their business, for the audience that they would usually pay money to be getting in front of. And that makes them want to say yes then. And when I send pitches, I give them all the information they need to make a good decision. So I do include, here's what I would need from you if you're going to do this, because I want those expectations set ahead of time. I don't want to be chasing down people like, hey, the due date was yesterday, which you're going to do anyways. But I want those expectations set. I don't want there to be any surprises for them on what I need. And then I say, but here's what's in it for you. And here's how I'm going to make this easy for you. Here's how you can get leads. Here's how you can make money. Here's what else I can do for you when you say yes for this. So you're asking something of them, but you're also presenting them with an opportunity, and being able to, communicate that clearly is huge.
That's awesome. That's good to know. Again, like all of these things, I'm so glad that this is recorded so that I can go back and watch this. I'm going to take all these notes for myself. Okay. So here comes kind of the flip side question. Is there ever a time where you think that someone should not run a summit? Like in someone's business, not time of year. That's going to be a different question.
Yeah.
Is there a situation where you would be like, no, don't do that?
Yes, there are. The 2 things are coming to mind. Let's see if I can remember them both. The first one is if you are not confident in the positioning of your business yet. If you haven't sold a whole lot yet, if you don't know what your audience wants from you, if you're not super confident in your messaging, get those things down first before you host a summit. If your business messaging isn't there, your summit messaging isn't going to be there either. So get your messaging down first. The second thing I would say is if you are like overwhelmed with all the things, you have a bunch of big stuff coming up, your life is busy, you're moving, let's just wait. Let's just give it a couple months and wait until you have the brain space and time to dedicate to it. It's a big project. I will never, ever tell someone that hosting a summit is easy. Even with the hundreds, thousands of resources we have, it is still a significant amount of work. I tell people to dedicate at least 90 days. It's a big project. So I would say if you're already busy and overwhelmed, now is not the time. Yeah. Put it on your revisit in a couple months list.
Yeah, because you don't want to make things more difficult. So are you basically saying you want everybody's business on the back end to be able to coast so that they can actually have the time and energy to set up the summit?
Yeah, I would say that. And a lot of times people come in and we all have busy businesses, right? It's not maybe there are some people out there who have it figured out. They're they're just chilling, working a couple hours a day, whatever. I'm not like that. I'm always go, go, go. So you want to be able to be in the position where you can say, okay, maybe I'm not going to publish weekly content during this entire period, or I can batch it ahead of time, or my team can take care of it. Or you're not feeling you have to have a completely booked out client schedule while you're also planning a summit. There's something you can pull back on a little bit temporarily while you're planning your summit and then dive back into those things.
Yeah, it's like a season of busy, when you have a baby, things are going to be crazy. You're going to have to put some things are going to have to be sacrificed.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I have another question, which is, what is the number one thing that everyone who is part of a summit, as a contributor, what's the number one thing that everyone should do as a contributor?
I would say just try to show up to support the host, because that's also going to benefit you. When you're supporting the host, you're naturally going to be putting yourself in front of the attendees in bigger and better and more powerful ways. So when you're meeting the deadlines and giving a great presentation, showing up in the community, if they have a Facebook group or something, doing those things, the host will love you for it so much. And you're also going to stand out to the attendees. And I always have a couple of speakers who will go hard with all of these things. Those are the speakers attendees remember. At the end of all of my summits, I always send out a survey. I'm who is your favorite speaker? Those are the people that are popping up, because not only did they have a great presentation, but they were in the group interacting with them, giving advice here and there, just posting pictures of their pets. So simple. Takes a couple minutes per day. Makes the host job easier, gives the attendees a better experience, and benefits you as a contributor more. So I would say yes to things you can show up for. You're not doing the host a favor by saying yes if you can't show up. We would rather have you say no, because it's just stressful to wonder, is this person going to get me their stuff? Is the presentation going to be good? Do they even want to be here? Say yes when you want to be there.
Yeah. Okay, so my next question that I just wrote out, because I heard you say a live group, and I'm oh, I have a question about this. Is it necessary to have a live group as part of a summit? And if it's not necessary, do you highly encourage it?
Is it 100% you can't run a summit without this? No. Do I highly encourage it? Absolutely. And the reason is part of the power of a summit is people being able to come together and feel like they're making progress as a group, as a community. A community is a great way to do that, and keep them moving forward. And also, if you are hosting a summit to build awareness of yourself, build awareness and visibility, awareness of you and your offers, having somewhere like that to be able to show up unscripted, maybe not necessarily in the summit schedule, is also really powerful. You can be in there. I always do little pop-up trainings in the weeks leading up to the event for people who registered early. One, why not? Two, it builds awareness. It gets people excited and engaged and more excited to show up. And as they are seeing other people engage in showing up, that encourages them to. So sometimes it is a struggle, just to be totally honest, to get people talking out first, especially if you're opening a brand new group for a new summit. those first few comments can be hard to get. So I always say, bring in some friends, bring in your speakers, encourage them to just like start commenting, because when one person comments, someone else is more likely to comment, and then it all grows from there. And a lot of my students and clients, like, that community is one of their favorite things about hosting the event. Even if they decide to archive the group after the event is over, being able to see people experience the transformation of your summit and taking action is one of the most rewarding parts. That's also a really powerful place to be getting testimonials throughout. Like, oh my gosh, I love this summit so much. Here's my biggest takeaway. I'm always encouraging them. I actually have my attendees play bingo. And like some of the bingo squares are things like post your biggest takeaway in the Facebook group. Go shout out your favorite all access pass bonus in the Facebook group, because that gets other people like, oh, what's that bonus? I'm going to go check that out and stuff like that. So you can really use the community as a way to give your attendees a better experience, but also really strategically as well. And it doesn't have to be like something you continue moving forward. You can always archive it and revisit it for your next event too.
Perfect. So basically, have a group.
Have a group. You know, and if you're someone who really doesn't like Facebook, I've seen people experiment with doing like a group in Circle or something like that. The biggest issue I have there is it's another login for people to have to use. Remember, they're way less likely to actually go take part in it. But if you're like, I hate Facebook for, you know, all the reasons, it is an option to do it somewhere else.
Good to know, because I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
I'm a Facebook slanderer. Oh my gosh. Okay, but I won't be if it means that that's where people like to be for summits.
It's just easy for them.
It's true. And people who find things easy, they're going to take more advantage of it.
Exactly.
They're going to take more part in it. Okay. So my next question is, as a contributor, is there anything that are like red flags about being part of a bundle that we should avoid?
Yes. If it seems like the host doesn't have their act together.
Okay.
That's like number one, because those are the events that like usually they're not going to go very well.
Yeah.
If like by the time they're pitching, they don't quite know what they're doing yet. Nah. If someone is asking you to like pay to be a part of it or doesn't have benefits that are super clearly outlined for you, probably not worth being a part of. We want hosts who you can tell they are trying to prioritize your success as well. Because that just pays itself back in the summit experience in all kinds of ways. So make sure you can tell that speakers are a priority.
Yeah.
What else? Oh my gosh, I feel like so many things. If it's a summit that is positioned to an audience that is not your exact audience, it's not going to benefit you. It's not going to benefit the host. So I wouldn't be a part of that either. Look for opportunities where the host knows what they're doing. You can tell they value you, and you know you're going to get in front of the people you want to get in front of. Those are probably the biggest things to look for.
Yeah. Is there anything else like about, so I get pitched pretty regularly, and I'm like, I feel bad because I'm like, I don't have time to promote. So I never say that I'll be part of it if I can't promote. I don't know if that makes me a weirdo or not. But one of the things that I usually ask is like, sometimes I am that person. I've asked hosts what the size of their audience is, or like who else is going to be part of it. Am I being a terrible human by doing that?
No, I mean, I think summits are good for some people and not good for other people. There are some people where summits just aren't like a part of your game plan, and that's okay. And like, I do, like, my students and clients do get so bent out of shape if someone says no, but it's like, no, they're doing you a favor by saying no. It means nothing about you or your event or your success or anything. If someone says no, that's just not where they are. There are some people who want to be paid for speaking opportunities. There are some people who value the free opportunities. Again, that says nothing about you as the host, your event, or anything like that. So I wish people could just detach themselves from the response they get from pitches. You know, if everyone's saying no, you might want to check that out. But like, I think it's great for you to be picky with the opportunities you are deciding to say yes to. Like, I would rather have someone say no than just kind of feel obligated to say yes and then not show up fully or not benefit themselves by saying yes. So I like it. Will people take it personally sometimes? Probably, but you're doing both you and them a favor. So.
Okay, good. Now that you said that earlier about like, I've only ever had one person ask about the size of my audience. I'm like, I do that every single time. Oh my gosh. Okay. So Now I feel a little bit better, just personally. That was a selfish question.
No, I like it. And I hope that, anyone listening can just like remember that moving
Yeah.
forward. People are going to ask and they're not doing it to be like malicious. They're just wondering if it's the right opportunity for them. And if it's not, that's okay.
Yeah. And so here's the next question, because I've obviously disclosed that apparently I was kind of being a little bit low key rude. But how do you, as a contributor, respond when somebody asks about the size of your audience and you're like, I have 250 people on my email list. Like, what do I do?
Be honest. Be like, I don't have a large audience. Here's what I have. Here's what I'm hoping to gain from the summit. I can't make any guarantees. Here are some other people I'm inviting on. Here are the benefits I can offer you. No worries if it's not a good fit for you.
Interesting. So it's still like a really low pressure situation. You're still outlining the benefits. You're still trying to be like, this is going to be beneficial. Do you ever mention the people who you've also pitched to, or do you wait until they have confirmation of saying yes, that are like maybe big names that would draw people in?
I would never use a name to my benefit if they have not confirmed yet.
Yeah, that's probably
So,
really good. It's a really big
if someone does respond in that way and you're working on lining up someone else, wait to respond to that first person, even if they have to sit there a couple of days to get some other pitches in and get responses from them and see if you have any ammo basically you can use in your response to them.
Okay, perfect. So my next question, because you're saying things and I'm adding them to
I
this,
love it.
because we're going through this. I'm so thankful. So how do you handle contributors who don't promote? Because I'm a rule follower. I see you have to promote 3 times and I'm like, okay, I'm writing out these emails, I'm scheduling them out. And like, if I can't do that, I'm never part of it. And then it feels like bad to see other people. And it's like, I know you're not promoting. I didn't get an email. I'm on your list. So how do you as the contributor handle that?
Yeah. So like me as the host.
Oh, sorry. You as the host. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I go into all of my events knowing not everyone is going to promote.
Okay.
Regardless of the requirements I set, there are going to be people who don't promote for whatever reason. If you're not promoting big or you're not inviting big, huge names, the percentage of people who aren't promoting will be lower, but there will always be people who don't promote for one reason or another. So I set my expectations knowing that going in. However, that doesn't mean I don't try to get them to promote. So, really the thing I see as being most important is the more engaged your speakers are in the process, the more they're going to want to promote. So again, it goes back to those connections we talked about. If you're pitching people you have connections with, they will want to support you. They'll want to promote. So that's the easiest thing you can do. Keeping them updated throughout the process can also be helpful when they feel like they're a part of what you're putting together and they see your passion and they kind of get caught up in your excitement. They'll want to promote more as well. Reminding them of, hey, if you had a requirement for promotion going in, reminding them of that low key. Again, you're not being gross about it, but just like including little reminders here and there, that is good as well. Giving them all the swipe copy they need. Obviously, if someone has to write their own email, they're not going to write their own email. So give them all of the copy they need, give them some different options for that, make promotion as easy as possible. And then when it comes down to it, I will do personal follow-ups. I have like set templates I send my speakers at different parts of the process once the event starts. And some of them, there's 2 versions. Has this person promoted that yet? Like, do they have any clicks on their affiliate link yet? Do they not? And the ones who don't, like, it just has a little more encouragement. I am not badgering anyone. I'm not like pressuring anyone or making them feel bad about not promoting. I go into it as like, and I'll straight up say, I haven't seen any clicks on your affiliate link yet. How can I help you? And for my last event, like I recorded custom like Instagram story takeover videos for each speaker and just sent that to them. I was like, here's some Instagram stories I recorded just for you, your audience that you can promote if you want to. I took one of our email templates and customized it for you. So I'll like customize it based on what I know about their audience, include their affiliate link right in it for them, have their name at the bottom so they can just copy paste.
Yeah.
A lot of times that does work. Sometimes it doesn't. But at that point, you've done your job. You have done your job to support them and get them to promote. You've tried to do the work for them. You have shown them all the love. If they don't promote, bless and release, and you don't invite them back next time. Like that's basically what you can do about the situation.
Awesome. I mean, not awesome when somebody doesn't promote, but like awesome in the way that you handle it. I love that. I love the non-pressure.
Yeah,
Like,
I have been in a summit before, and this is again the person who had the 100 speakers in his event. The pressure was so bad. I actually pulled out as a host. I had recorded my presentation. I had done all the things. Made a custom funnel for the summit. I had put in a lot of work. And during the promotion period, I pulled out of the event along with several other people I know because of how bad this was. So, and I'll just
oh
give you the
my
little story. But he decided to do like this contest that no one knew about going in. This was not a part of the requirements or anything we knew ahead of time. He just sprung this on us. He split us into groups, and we were like having a promotion contest between other groups. And he decided if we did not participate, if we did not promote by this certain day, we were out of the event. And I had emailed him beforehand, before I had even agreed to be on his summit, saying, I have my own launch actually going on between these days, but I will send a solo email to my audience of your exact audience on this set day. It was after this period. So I was getting like threatening emails. If you don't promote, we're pulling you from the event. So I
Oh
was
my
like, okay,
gosh.
I'm out. Like, I'm out. And
Yeah.
I'm glad I went through that, as terrible as it was at the time, while also being just hilarious. Like, why? I'm glad I went through that because that
Yeah.
has crafted the way I want to help
Yeah.
other people. I'm going to
Yeah.
support my speakers. I'm going to encourage them. I'm going to do everything I can to help them,
Yeah.
not just be a total jerk and make them never want to have anything to do with me again. So
That's a nightmare. Oh
it's
my
terrible,
gosh.
terrible. And I know he lost at least 4 speakers that I was talking to from doing that. So it just doesn't go well. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah, no. So even as a host, you still need to treat people well. That's the big
Love them.
thing.
Just love them. That's the best thing you can do.
I love that. Okay, so as a contributor, where can we find summits to be part of? Like, if we want to start actually using summits to grow our list, or maybe we're dipping our toes in the water, not really sure about hosting it yet, where can we find summits to be part of that will be beneficial?
Yeah, I love that. So again, I'm like a broken record. The best thing you can do is have connections with people.
Yeah.
When someone goes to plan a summit and they start brainstorming speakers, the easiest thing for them to do is be like, who do I already know? That's what we all do first. Who do I already know?
Yep.
Then we'll go out and branch out from there and do a search. And like I'm like searching keywords on Instagram, searching on Pinterest, searching on YouTube to see who's popping up when I'm like, okay, I want this topic covered in my summit. Who can I go to for that? So like that's secondary, but the connections come first. Something else you can do is like be in directories for speakers. Virtualsummitsearch.com is a directory that you can be a part of. I send all of my hosts there. So that's a good place to get listed. She asks about like who's your audience and what are your preferred speaking topics and stuff like that. So I know a lot of my hosts go there to pull people from. I know there are Facebook groups out there that are like come here to look for speaking opportunities. I have a Facebook group for Summit Host Hangout. Every Saturday we have our hosts post if they are looking for speakers. So speakers come in there and respond. But like the most reliable thing you can do is have those relationships going in. I know that's not like necessarily something you can go out and put in place tomorrow, but that's going to be the most reliable way to start getting those invites. And once you can get a couple, then they'll start flowing because like it's easy for us as hosts to be like, oh yeah, this person hosted a summit on kind of a similar topic. I'm going to go see who they had speak and bring those people on as well. So once you can get those first couple out of the way, it becomes easier for sure.
Perfect. Because that's like one of the big scary things is like, where can we find summits? Like, so I wrote down virtual summit search and then Facebook groups as well.
Yeah. And I guess one other thing you can do is even if someone is already open registration, they're already promoting, don't be afraid to message them and be like, hey, if someone drops out last minute, I can have my presentation to you within 2 days. Like, let me know. Or I would love to be on next time if you host the summit again. And not everyone is going to be organized enough to keep track of your information, but some do because I do. Whenever someone would see my summit open and like send me a message or an email being like, hey, next time I'd love to be a part of that, Cool. I copy the link to that email, paste it in my speaker spreadsheet for next time. And I always go back and pull people from that if it looks like they're going to be a good fit. So it might be like a longer game to be doing that, but don't be afraid to. And the positioning of if someone drops out, I can get you a presentation really fast. That works because sometimes hosts are scrambling when people drop out at the last minute, which happens.
Oh, yeah. So. Oh, I believe it. I believe it. And that would, I imagine, probably be like a nightmare to try to scramble around at the last minute.
Yes.
So back to it, as a host, where can you find the right contributors for your summit? Like, let's say that you maybe don't have a lot of people who you are directly in contact with. Maybe you are starting out with 250 email subscribers. Maybe you just started getting your feet underneath of you. Where can you go to find contributors for your summit?
Mm-hmm. So my favorite thing to do is to I do searches on Instagram. This is easiest if you have a pretty specific audience for your summit, which I want you to have. Please have a specific audience. But 6 of the summits I've run have been for designers. So I can really easily go to Instagram and search for designers. And people who have that in their bio like pop up, and I'm just like opening all the tabs, going through all of these names. Easy. Like that is my favorite thing to do. Something else you can do is brainstorm all of the topics you want discussed at your summit. So figure out who your summit's for, what it's about. Based on that, what topics do I need covered? And then search for those specific topics. So that's great. You can search podcast directories. You can search YouTube, Google, Pinterest for people who you can tell focus on those topics. Like if they wrote a one-off blog post and it's not what they talk about, maybe look for someone else, but it's an option. Even if you have a small network and a small audience, asking those people is also really helpful. So posting a survey, sending a survey out to your email list, asking who they love to learn from, even if you're sending it to 100 people, do it. Ask your friends who they know who talks about a certain topic, because that can really open the doors for you a lot. If you find you're in the position where you're onboarding speakers and still need more, you can add just a field in the form you're having your speakers fill out. Like, who else do you think would be a great fit for this summit? Get recommendations for your speakers as they're from your speakers as they're coming on. But those are my favorite things to do is start by searching for people who target your audience and look at specific topics you want covered as well.
Those are great ideas.
Yay.
Okay, so kind of flipping things around again a little bit. What is the number one worst thing that someone can do as a contributor in a summit? Okay, so what are the top 5? If we can't narrow it down to 1.
I'll try to the worst thing you can do is how about this? The worst thing you can do is say yes to a summit that you're not actually excited to be a part of. Because that's what leads to all the issues. It leads to you not really wanting to promote. It leads to you seeing the task on your calendar to create your presentation and being like, I don't want to do that. And pushing it back and either being late or being like, sorry, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Or you bust your way through it, make a 50% effort in your presentation so it's not great. And then you don't want to promote. All of those things as hosts that are just stressful, all comes back to someone saying yes to an opportunity that they probably shouldn't have. So worst thing you can do is saying yes to a summit that you didn't really want to say yes to.
Good to know. So what's the number 2 worst thing that you could do? I think dig there. I'm like, there's more. I know it.
Yeah, there is a lot more. But I think it really comes down to kind of the pieces I just really briefly touched on, but being late on your due dates is really, really stressful for the host. And I even plan for it and it still ends up being stressful. I ask my speakers for their presentations 3 weeks before the summit starts, which probably seems just nuts to some people. They're like, why do you need it that far in advance? But the number one reason is because then when they're late, it's okay.
Yeah.
But also keep in mind that a host has a lot to do once they get your presentation. They have to go through it and make sure it's decent. They have to get it loaded up onto the website for the free version of the summit. They have to get it loaded into the All Access Pass. transcripts and captions are a pretty big deal these days. They need time to create those things. A lot of people want to make worksheets or notes to go along with the sessions. Like, there was a lot of hours that get put into your presentation after you submit it. So when you submit it late, that is really, really hard on a host. So it's like one of the more harmful things you can do, where they're behind the scenes. They're like, is it coming? Should I pull them from the registration page? Should I pull them from promotional material? Do I need to like find someone else to fill this thing in the schedule? There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you don't think about as a contributor. So I would say that is like the number 2 thing. If we're going to go for number 3, I would say not promoting. Just because, like, is the host benefiting through this? Yeah. But a good host is also trying their hardest to make sure their speakers are benefiting. And they can't benefit their speakers if their speakers aren't helping them do that. So is the host benefiting? Yes. But also, like, you doing your part to make sure everyone else can benefit is really helpful as well. So when you don't do that, like, it affects everybody.
So basically, stick to your deadlines and do what you said in your contract that you were going to do.
And if there's something that you don't like, bring that up. Like, when someone pitches me for a summit and I know I can't promote during that time, I will always respond and be like, hey, this sounds great. If I want to be a part of it, I'd be like, I would love to be a part of it, but I cannot send 2 solo emails. Like, I just can't do it. I could maybe, like, I can put a PS in one of my regular newsletters. I can post on Instagram stories. Let me know if that's okay. So just be upfront with what you can do. Be realistic with yourself about what you can do and will want to do. And don't be afraid to, like, give them a counter offer. A lot of times they're going to actually say yes. So
I like that. I never in a million years thought about counter offering. Well, now instead of saying no, that's what I'll be doing. So good to know. Okay. So as someone running a summit, what is the biggest, okay, fine. If we can't do the biggest, what are some of the biggest things that you wish that everyone running a summit knew?
Okay. I can even say the biggest, but we can dive into some other things. The biggest thing I wish every summit host knew is that a lot of times the positioning for your business is not going to be the positioning for your summit. And that's because summits need to have specific positioning, and that goes both for the audience and the topic. So if your audience is like online business owners, creative business owners, moms, professionals, anything like that, that's not specific enough for a summit. I don't care how well it works for your business. 99% of the time, that's not going to carry over to your summit. I have seen some of the biggest names out there try that, and then they're the ones that are telling everyone that summits don't work. And I'm like, summits work. You just didn't do it right. Even though you're a big deal, you like, oh my gosh, you got something wrong, So get your positioning down, as included in that audience. I guess following on the back of that is the topic. It has to be a specific topic, something like grow your business or live a happier life, or, those things, they're just not specific enough. What does that look like? Are they going to, like, reconnect with their kids and raise them in a happier environment with less yelling or something like that? Like, you need to get specific. So that's the number one thing I want someone to know before they go on to host a summit. And if you're like, oh, I do have a wide audience, what does that mean for me? I can walk you through a few steps here. The first thing I always have someone do is look at what subsets of your audience exist. So for another business I run or ran, my summit, or I could have run my summit for like all designers, but I'm like, okay, what subsets are there in the audience of designers? There's brand designers, there's web designers, graphic designers, print designers. I can break those down to like WordPress, Squarespace, Kajabi designers. Break your audience up into those subgroups, and then look at things like who tends to be the most drawn to my offers? Who do I enjoy working with the most? Who like stands out to me as something I can help with something really specific? Look at what's coming up. It could even be who am I most excited about? There can be like no actual strategic reason. It can just be what feels best to you. That's a really helpful way to start pulling out a specific audience, and then look at what can I help these people with really specifically. And a lot of times people are like, well, I don't want to leave anyone out. I don't want to just do a subset of my audience. It's going to leave people out. Yeah, but you're going to host a much better summit that's more helpful for those people because of it. And you can always do different additions moving forward. And that's what we've done for Summit in a Box is our first summit was Sell with a Summit for course creators.
Mhm.
Then I let my co-host take that brand over, and she has done membership site owners, service providers, speakers, podcasters. And even those are honestly pretty broad, but it's a whole lot better than online business owners. So you can do different editions of your summit and make them much more impactful and convert much more highly when you're getting specific like that. But that is the number one thing I want all hosts to pay attention to start with.
Yeah, because it's exactly the same thing like with your regular marketing. You wouldn't just go out there and say, I help women.
Right.
Do what?
Yes.
Like, do what? What kind of women? Like, or even just
Exactly.
like, I help moms.
Mm-hmm.
Moms of babies, moms of high schoolers, moms who homeschool. Like, getting specific always, always, always helps.
Yes. Yes, it does. And it makes everything in the process easier. It makes
Yeah.
writing your registration page copy easier. It makes finding the right speakers easier when you have a more specific audience who you're helping with something that actually means something. It's actually meaningful when you talk about it instead of just growing your business or being happier.
Those are so broad.
They are, and I see it a lot.
Oh, I absolutely believe it. Okay, so if there was one thing that everybody knew as a contributor to a summit, what would that be? Kind of lifting up the curtain from like, we get the emails and say like, submit your thing, here you go. What is it that you wish as a host that everybody who is contributing knew?
I wish that everybody contributing knew that we're trying really, really hard and we're doing lots of things. Yeah, I think it just goes back to a lot of people see like they kind of look at it from a tainted perspective. This
Yeah.
host is putting on this summit and they're trying to like use me to grow their business. Are they trying to grow their business? Yeah. But if they're doing it right, and if they're a person you want to be collaborating with, they truly do care about you as a speaker is benefiting, because hosting a summit that only benefits them and no one that they invited on is not good. Like, we don't want that. I want my speakers telling me they grew their list by hundreds of people. They made thousands of dollars in sales, like immediately as being part of the event. I want that feedback, because that means those people will want to continue collaborating with me in the future. They'll spread the good word about my summit at moving forward, which will make it easier for me to land other speakers. I'll have good testimonials to use for the next event. So just know, like, is this going to benefit their business? Probably yes, but they really care about you too. So just know that we're trying hard. We care. We need your help.
And that there's a lot of moving pieces also on the back end. Like, even hearing you talk about like thousands of templates, I'm like, I didn't even think about the emails, the sales pages, the registration, all access, the upsells, the notebooks for each speaker, like all of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of the things like I include in one of the webinars we have for one of our programs. I have like a slide of it, like it's an iceberg, and part of the iceberg is underwater. And I'm like, you see all these pieces up here? You have no idea this stuff even exists until you are like in it and you're already late, or you just never realize that you needed those pieces and you miss out on a lot because of it. A summit it's a big project, and that's why I have the programs I do. It's because I truly do not believe anyone should do it from scratch. It's just not necessary, and it's a lot. And like you said, there's just a lot you don't know about until you're in it, and it becomes stressful when every day you're like, oh dang, I need this like yesterday, and like have to scramble to try to catch up.
Oh my gosh. That sounds stressful, but it's also like humanizing the hosts of these summits a lot.
Yeah.
Like, everybody has to win, but they have to do a lot of the legwork.
They do a lot of work.
So my next question is, and again, this is kind of selfish, but I'm also like, I want to know the answer to this. So is there a best time of year to host a summit? And if there's not a best time of year, is there a worst time of year to host a summit?
Yeah, I like that. There was definitely good and bad and worst times. When those times are kind of depends on your audience. So for my summits, I target business owners. Like, I'm all in the B2B space. I know I am never hosting a summit in September or October, because that's when everyone's launching. That's when everyone's coming back from like being on break during the summer. They sent their kids back. They can finally focus again. They're launching those 2 months. I'm not, because I don't want to get caught up in that noise.
Yeah.
I know for me, like, super obvious, but like late December, probably don't want to host a summit when everyone is distracted from the holidays.
Yeah.
We found out a couple years ago that election season, just don't do it. Do not host your summit when there's a big election happening. To give you a different perspective, like I have some clients who are in like the travel space. They target people who are living in RVs or going to like on Yellowstone vacations.
Yeah.
On the season where they're on those vacations, probably don't want to host a summit then. You want to do it a couple months before that. So you're helpful when they're in their planning. So it's going to depend on your audience. Think about when it's a good time for them, but also really think about when it's a bad time for them. When are they busy? When are they not paying attention? And then you can go back and say, okay, but when could this be the most helpful time for them? In addition to thinking about your audience, also think about yourself. When can I host it? And I'm like always surprised by the number of people who I work with who are like, oh, I'm moving right now. This is so stressful. I'm like, well, of course it is. Why are you trying to host a summit when you're moving? Or like I have been guilty twice of planning summits when I'm pregnant and like then have to come back and host a summit with a newborn. Like just be smart maybe about when you are hosting your summit, both for your attendees and for yourself and your own like capacity.
Yeah, that's a very important thing, is to remember like the seasons, the holidays, and then what do you have going on?
Yeah, exactly.
If it's the end of the year parties for your kids or whatever it is, don't host a summit.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is the last question that I have, I promise. What is something that you would tell someone listening to this and thinking that they should run their own summit?
Okay, what I would want you to know is that no matter where you are in your business, it is like a roller coaster, like a mindset roller coaster. And I even have like a lesson in my programs about the emotional roller coaster of hosting a summit. You are going to doubt yourself throughout the process. There are going to be times when you're like, why am I doing this? Is this going to work? And there are going to be times where you're like, I am the greatest human of all time. This was the best thing ever, you know? And just know about that going in. And even I've run 7 of my own events. I've helped hundreds and hundreds of clients and students with their events. I still have that every single time. And it's like natural. The most natural times for this are right before you pitch speakers. Like everything is ready. You've put some work in. You are basically putting yourself out there for the first time and looking for buy-in from the first set of people.
Yeah.
It's stressful. That is when you're going to be at a low point. You're going to be doubting yourself. You're not going to know if it's going to work. You're going to get those first couple yeses and like skyrocket back up the roller coaster. And the same thing is going to happen again, like right before you open registration. No one's going to sign up for this. This isn't going to work. Oh my gosh, I'm going to let my speakers down. Those first few registrations and sales come in. You make your way back up the roller coaster. So no going in. Everyone doubts themselves. Everyone wonders if they're good enough or if their idea is going to work. It is totally normal, no matter where someone is at in business. So don't let that hold you back. You have something your audience needs, right? You wouldn't be running a business if that wasn't the case. If you didn't truly believe in what you do and what you offer, your audience, your future attendees need you. Don't let like your own ego hold you back from presenting that to them.
Yeah. I love that. And so it's a lot of work. Know this going in, but it's also, is there anything that you can suggest to people who do choose to go through this roller coaster? Like, is there anything like that you have found that has worked to get you off of a ledge, proverbially speaking? Like,
don't do it by yourself. Have a support system who understands what you're going through. Preferably people who have hosted events of their own before and can be like, trust the process. Like it works. You just have to make it through this. Here are some suggestions I might have for you, but follow the process. It works. Like that is the number one thing I have, as well as like, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't try to make it up yourself. Like there's no way for you to know if it works if you're making it up yourself. Like follow a process that is actually proven, that has been proven by lots and lots of people that you can depend on, and, you know, kind of relieve some pressure for you, like trying to figure it out every step of the way.
And it's like you have a course or something that people can use.
Yeah, I do.
I'm just trying to lollipop.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like to like tell people like, you have to get my stuff, but it's helpful. I do have several programs that literally walk you through step by step the entire process. And the first thing we have people do when they join our programs is we have this spreadsheet where you put the day you want your summit to start. It calculates due dates for like 350 tasks for you and gives you instructions for how to upload it straight to like Asana or ClickUp. You don't have to wonder how to do it. You don't have to wonder what to do next. You go to your calendar every day and be like, oh, I guess today I'm working on my registration page copy because that's what this thing tells me to do. You don't have to figure out anything yourself. We link you exactly to the training videos and templates you need every step of the way. We make it easy. We do make it easy. Like hosting a summit is not easy, but we remove the complicated bits. We remove you having to figure anything out on your own. And just walk you through a process that has been proven, that has worked, and you're also a part of a community of people who can talk you off the ledge, who can talk you through those lower points in the process, which just naturally exist, and can help you host a summit that actually works.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here and talking with us today. This was so insightful, so helpful. Is there anything else that you want to share with us about where we can follow up with you or anything like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing you could check out is our quick start guide. We have a guide that like walks you through how summits can replace your slow growth strategies and just move you towards incredible launches with thousands of leads, lots of great money from the all access pass, and naturally lead to your offers. This guide specifically also kind of compares how you would generate 3,000 leads and 100K in revenue with and without a summit. And for some of you, that might be like, that is like, I could never do either of those things, but you're still going to get the idea of how hosting a summit compares to all of the other strategies we're used to hustling and piecing together for. And it also kind of walks through like the key pieces of hosting a summit that are going to lead to a really successful launch of the summit and whatever else you have to offer. So that would be a great place to start. Also, come find me on Instagram at Summit in a Box if you just have some like questions, want to connect, want to follow along. I'm over there way too often, so I would love to connect.
I feel that deeply. Krista, thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing all of your knowledge. And hopefully a lot of us will be taking your vast knowledge and all of your templates and using them for hosting our own summits maybe someday.
I would love it. I would love to see it. And thank you so much for having me and all of the awesome questions. This was so fun. And I hope it was helpful.
I do too. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.